Okay, hey everybody, welcome back to Active Self Protection Extra. Today on John's Briefs, we're here again with Deverick Woodfork, and I want to talk to him. You know, a guy won a gunfight on main channel, and go watch it if you haven't already. And I want to talk to him about the aftermath of a deadly force encounter, not just from a legal perspective, but from the emotional and personal perspective as well.
Now more than ever, you need trusted coverage to help you win the fight after the fight. The company I trust and recommend is Firearms Legal Protection. They offer discounts on all their plans at the link in the description. I recommend the premium plan.
Deverick, man, I really enjoyed our first discussion, man. I'm so impressed with you, bro. And welcome back, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you again for having me, John. It's nice to see you.
So the gunfight's over, right? You won. Holy crap, worst day of your life. You've won the gunfight. Car gets disabled. So you grab your youngest, your wife grabs your other son, your oldest, and you guys run off to a dentist's office to get out of the way. And so you decided, what was your first aftermath event? What was your decision at that point?
Well, so at that time, I was a member of U.S. Law Shield. It's interesting. I'm now the member ambassador for U.S. and Texas Law Shield.
Okay, all right.
I was afraid to call the cops, and I'll be quite blunt with you and tell you why. Because hey, I'm an African American with the firearm, and I just had to use it, and I was afraid. I was like, I didn't know how that was going to end when the cops came, right? So I called U.S. Law Shield first. I spoke with my lawyer, and they put me in contact with a great lawyer, and she told me exactly what I needed to do and say, and call the cops. And I called the cops, and I let them know what was going on. And obviously, I wasn't the first one who called the cops, right? You got people driving down the freeway. They've already called them.
Yeah, I see two guys having a gunfight, right?
So I wasn't the first person to call them. So we were actually inside the dentist office. And once I got off the phone with the cops, I waited for the cops to show up. They showed up really fast. That was like the fastest I've ever seen them show up, and any time I've ever had to call them. But they came really fast, and they actually arrived at the back of the dentist office. So I was inside the front. I had already reholstered my firearm. I walk out the front along the side of the building towards the back. By the time I make it to the back, the cops had already made it inside the back because they entered.
Oh geez, you guys are like chasing each other around the building.
So I'm like, okay, I need to let them know I'm the victim. So when they run back out and they see me, they immediately, they did their job. They drew down. They get up against the wall. I had my hands up and let them know, hey, I'm the guy that called you. I'm the victim. And they immediately disarmed me. They questioned me, and honestly, they came at me from multiple angles. Asking me the same question multiple ways just to see if I would give a different answer. And I just had to let them know, like, hey, I'm the victim. That guy just randomly attacked us, and they did their investigation. And one thing interesting I found was they gave me my firearm back at the scene. They didn't keep it.
They did. Okay. So did your attorney? Now, of course, hey, you're an ambassador for U.S. Law Shield, man. I think that's great. ASP is sponsored by Firearms Legal Protection. So having that ability to have an attorney, did the attorney they connected you with, did she encourage you to give a statement right there? Or did she say, hey, I'm on my way, shut up?
No, she told me the way I was educated on how to say what I needed to say. Whenever something like that arises, I just simply said that to her. Hey, I'm Deverick Woodfork. I've been a victim of a crime. A guy just attempted to rob me. I don't know what to do. So she told me to tell the cops exactly that and nothing more. Don't give them any crazy statements or anything like that. She advised me that she would be right there with me through every step of the way to assist me. And she was actually right there with me through every step of the way. And she still is right here with me through everything. And it's great.
So officers came, asked you several questions. You just said, hey, I'm a victim of crime. I don't know that guy. He attacked me. I don't have anything more to say. Did your attorney come and meet you at the scene at that point?
No, not at the scene at that point. She told me it was not necessary just at the moment, but she was actually on the phone the entire time the cops were there.
Okay.
I had her on the phone.
So you kept her on the phone with you.
Yep, exactly. And she told me if she needed to come right then and there, she would. But she was great. She knew her stuff. She told me on the phone, this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to go. This is what you need to do. And they're going to send you home. And that's exactly what happened. But she did say, if anything different if anything changes, if they do anything different and they decide to arrest you, make sure you have your wife call me or you call me, which I didn't need to call her because I just kept her on the phone. And none of that happened. So she didn't really need to come to the scene or anything. But if she needed, she would have came.
So I find it fascinating. So the officers then did their investigation. Were like, obviously, if they handed you back your gun,
yeah,
they pretty well established, okay, this is a good guy. He's not doing bad stuff. So I'm shocked at that, Deverick. They handed you your gun back because I would assume that's evidence now because I got to match the ballistics in this gun to the bullet I'm going to take out of that dude.
Exactly. So, and here's the thing with that. So about 2 or 3 weeks later, I get a phone call from a detective that was actually over the case and still is. He was telling me, well, he said, no, Mr. Woodfork, do you still have that van? I was like, yes, I do. He said, well, we like you to bring that van in so I can take pictures of it. We also like you to come do a photo lineup, point out. And one more thing, do you have that firearm still? And I was like, yeah. He said, we need you to bring that in. So I was very uncomfortable, John. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? They gave me my firearm back at the scene of the crime, and now they're telling me to bring my firearm. And at this time, I'm really scared. I don't know what's about to happen.
Right.
So I told him, I'm comfortable with everything else. I don't mind cooperating, but I'm not comfortable with bringing my firearm in there. So I got off the phone with him. I called my lawyer back, and she advised me that I did not have to do that. She advised me that may be their policy, but policy is not law. And she actually got in contact with him herself and had to go through a whole chain of commands just to let them know that, hey, Deverick is a victim, and there's nowhere within the law in Texas where it requires for a victim to have to surrender their firearm. Now, maybe their policy because it was supposed to be evidence or whatever, but policy is not law. And I didn't know that at the time.
Wow.
I did not know that. And honestly, I have that same firearm on my hip right now.
Hey, man, I think, listen, the reality is that firearm served you well, right? You're 1-0.
Yep.
So, wow, man, that's I think a unique story. So the detectives called you, your attorney helped you through that. Did you, and it sounds like it's still in progress. It sounds like they're still doing investigation here, or have you talked to the district attorney since then?
I haven't even talked to the district attorney at all. I've just been in communication with the detective who's over the case. And interestingly enough, I recently found out that the gentleman is still free. They're saying they don't have enough evidence to charge him. So they're having to represent more evidence to the DA and see how that's going to go and take it from there, which is, to me, fairly interesting. You would think that video would be enough. They're saying that it's not clear enough to show his face and all that.
And did you go down and do a lineup? And did you?
Yes, and that's another thing. They're saying that because I didn't pick out the guy in the photo lineup, which I thought I did, but it was, statistics from what I understand have proven when a situation like that arises, you're not really focusing on the individual. You're focusing on the object. And the object was his gun. I can tell you he had a 30-round magazine, he had a Glock, and it was a 45 caliber because I found one of the rounds in my van. But I can't really tell you how he looked, especially if you put 6 different people that look like him on the same piece of paper. It's kind of, but that's one of the things that they're saying is because I wasn't able to point him out. It's kind of making it difficult to charge him with anything. They kind of know exactly who he is, but they need enough evidence to make it stick.
Wow, man, I hope they get that figured out for you. But now, did you hear in terms of the detective or the district attorney? I mean, they've treated you like the victim the entire time. Have you heard the words "you were justified in your conduct" from them?
Not exactly in those terms. The detective, and I can't remember exactly how he put it, but he assured me that because when they brought me into the investigation room, and they questioned me and my wife, which I almost didn't even want to go there because I'm like, hey, I've given you guys a statement already. But when they brought me in and they, I kind of did feel like, like they were treating me like a suspect, and it was real weird, to be honest with you. And after it was all said and done, he was like, hey, Mr. Woodfork, we're on your side. You did absolutely nothing wrong. You just defended yourself and your family. Great job. We're going to do our part to make sure that we get justice on this. And that was kind of like the last, I guess, words I heard from the detective prior to me recently talking to him and finding out that the guy's still free.
Well, I'm glad he at least said that to you. Tell me about emotionally the aftermath for you. Did you have elation in the days afterwards? Were you depressed? Did you second guess yourself? Tell me about the emotional after effects.
So there was a slight feeling of uncomfort because, and I'll be honest with you, I felt like at that time I didn't, excuse what I'm about to say, but I feel like I didn't do my job because I didn't put him down right there. But I had a lot of people, they were like, man, get out of that. You did your job. And
you drove him off, man. You won your gunfight.
You're alive. You're here. Your family is not hurt. Kudos to you. You did great. So with the words of encouragement, I quickly got over that part. And I immediately, everybody who knows me, I'm a fiery guy. And when bad stuff happens to me, I like to take it and make good out of it. I don't like to just dwell on the negative. So I immediately just became fired up and like, no, I want to get thorough training. And now I train more than ever. I train like crazy. Now I'm a training junkie, man. I probably draw my firearm unloaded, in about 100 times a day and practice sight picture and sight alignment. And I'm always in the range and doing extensive drills and whatnot. But the emotions were kind of up and down. Now, PTSD, I was recently told, don't call it PTSD, just call it PTS, because when you call it a disorder, it makes it seem almost as if you're mentally unstable. Sure. And that's not the case. But what it did do was it made me kind of, I won't say paranoid, it made me more aware. I have heightened situational awareness now, but any little sneaking up on me, any little noise, firecrackers, somebody drops a chair, something goes boom, it startles me, and I almost tend to put my hand on my gun and almost ready to draw because all I could think about was that day. Every time I'm getting out of my vehicle, the first thing I do is I'm kind of like looking around and like focus on that spot again where that guy was standing. If I'm sitting at red lights, if I'm sitting at stop signs, anything where I'm in a vehicle and I'm sitting and I'm out and about and I'm just sitting, I'm very, very, very uncomfortable.
So Deverick, I'm just telling you, man. So I was in a car wreck in 2000. I got rear-ended by a drunk driver really hard in 2000. And here we are now 21 years and change afterwards. And if I have to hit my brakes, I'm instantly looking in my rearview mirror, worrying about getting hit from behind. So that's that kind of, so when we talk about post-traumatic stress, well, we start with the traumatic stress. You had a huge traumatic stress. Yep. And then what happens after that? So we can have that post-traumatic growth and that changing our behavior and going, oh, okay, so am I dealing with this in healthy ways? If it doesn't cause you what we call dysphoria, in other words, yes, I'm really alert to what's going on. I'm seeing what's going on, and that makes me feel bad about myself and it hurts my quality of life. That's when we start talking about disordered behavior, right?
Exactly.
But instead, when we go, no, it's made me appreciate my life more. It's made me be ready for the world. It's made me be grateful for every day I get with my wife and my kids. And then it also has made me more aware of my world and paying more attention. Well, that's post-traumatic growth.
Yep.
And that's great stuff. So, man, I think that so far so good, man. It sounds like your aftermath has been about as like perfect as it can be. Any squawk from the bad guy about civil stuff?
No, not at all. And I don't really look forward to it. But if for whatever reason that pops up, like I say, I'm the member ambassador at Law Shield now, so they're going to take care of me. But I don't foresee that. I hope it doesn't happen. I can't say I don't foresee it happening because I'll just be naive. But I hope nothing like that pops up.
Yeah, man. I'm glad it's come out for you like that. And hopefully, again, as a good, sane, sober, moral, prudent person, you did the right thing. And it looks like the law took care of you in that instance. I mean, it's going to be hard because this is something you're not used to. But I think in particular as a Black American, I want to talk on a next video. I'd like to do another one if you're willing to talk with me about your experience as a Black American and a firearms carrier and why that worry is there, because I think a lot of my viewership may not appreciate that and may not know kind of what that's like and that perspective. And if you've got the time, Deverick, I'd love to talk about that a little bit in another video.
Absolutely.
All right.
Love to
Let's do it, man. And so thanks again for the perspective on John's briefs today, guys. Be ready for the aftermath of a deadly force encounter. Deverick, thank you so much, man.
No problem. Thank you, John.